What if the child you sacrificed everything for was quietly planning to erase you from your own life? My name is Margaret. I'm 72, and one wrong tap on a phone turned my world inside out. Grace, my daughter, meant to send her husband a voice note. It arrived in my inbox instead. Ricardo, I can't have my mother in this house anymore. She's a nuisance, always in everything. We're spending too much on her. I've been looking at cheap places, found one for $800 a month. My blood ran cold. This was the same girl I once worked day and night to raise, cleaning other people's homes, selling my jewelry to put her through college, begging Richard to come back when he left her at the altar the first time. I had poured my entire life into hers. The audio didn't stop. I checked the house papers. It's in her name, but there's a way to move it into ours without her noticing. Carol at the county clerk's will help. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. My daughter, my own flesh and blood, was planning to take my home. The only thing of value I owned. The place I built brick by brick. 12 hours a day for 30 years. Then the part that stung more than any knife, her laugh, in a month. Mom will be in the home and will own everything. Finally, we can live in peace, without that bitter old woman controlling us. If you've ever tasted betrayal from someone you love, you know that kind of pain has a sound. It's the sound of something breaking you can't glue back together. But Grace forgot who raised her. I'm not naive. 66 years teach you that when someone comes at you with cunning, you protect yourself with clarity. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I dressed in my crimson suit, gathered every important document I owned, and stepped into the morning with a plan she wouldn't see coming, to understand why those words pierced so deep. You need to know how I was made and how my bond with Grace became the backbone of my life. I grew up where love was measured by sacrifice. My mother, God rest her, sewed from 5 in the morning until 10 at night to feed 4 children. We were never rich. We were raised on respect and values. Family first, to the last drop of blood, she'd say, guiding my clumsy fingers over a needle. When I got pregnant at 18, Grace's father vanished like smoke. His parents slammed the door in my face. My mother gathered me to her chest and said, "That child will have what we never did. We'll raise her together." She sold her to gold bracelets, the only jewelry she owned, to buy baby things. Grace arrived with eyes like lanterns and a smile that lit the room. We took turns caring for her while I cleaned houses for $20 a day. The first day of kindergarten, we walked because we couldn't afford bus fare. Her uniform was ironed, her shoes shined. My dress was patched and my hands were calloused. She kissed my cheek and whispered, "Thank you. Mum, you're the best." It was enough. Years marched on, up at 4. Breakfast, school drop-off, 3 houses a day until 6. Homework help, bedtime stories. Weekends I washed laundry for extra money. When Grace was 8, my mother passed. Before she left, she gripped my hand. Education and love, she care for you when you're old. Our blood is good. She'll never fail you at 15. I worked double for 6 months to throw her the party she dreamed of. $3,500 meant for our leaky roof. She glowed in gold, whispered through tears, "How do you give me so much when you have almost nothing? One day I'll repay you 1,000 times." She excelled at school, top grades, plays, teachers promising a bright future. But excellence is expensive. Books, uniforms, trips. I added a 4th house on Sundays. College was $15,000 a year. I earned $400 a month. I did the math. It mocked me. So I mortgaged my home, sold the engagement ring her father left behind, and even my mother's sewing machine. "You'll work in air conditioning," I told her at enrollment. "You'll never scrub floors like me." For 4 years, I pinched every cent. Brooks. Projects, presentation outfits, the girls' nights she didn't want to miss. Beans and tortillas kept me full while her future grew. Graduation was the loudest joy I ever knew. She hugged me, crying, "This is as much yours as mine. Now you'll never suffer again." A year later, she met Richard. He seemed kind, responsible, steady. When he proposed, I cried imagining the stable family I hadn't had. She wanted a magazine wedding, $8,000 venue, $2,000 dress, $800 music, $600 flowers. I found $10,000 by taking another loan and selling my last jewelry. The early marriage years were tender. Sundays together, she slipped grocery money into my palm. "Now that I'm working, let me take care of you." For the first time, I felt seen. 3 years ago, Richard lost his job. Money bled. They asked for $1,000, then $2,500 for a car down payment, then $3,000 for credit cards. I couldn't say no after that. The air shifted. They stopped coming Sundays, busy with work. Calls turned to quick check-ins. Tomorrow never came. Then the comments disguised as care. "Mom, Richard says you're forgetful. Are you sure you can live alone? At your age?" I laughed it off, but a seed was planted. I dropped by with Richard's favorite pineapple dessert. Laughter inside. 5 minutes to open the door. Carol, the cousin from the clerk's office, sat at the table, papers strewn. She shoved them into a folder when she saw me. "Just insurance paperwork," they said. I glimpsed my name on a page. "Why do you need documents with my name?" I asked. "Updating beneficiaries. You're our only family," Grace smiled, already pivoting the conversation to the garden, a TV show, anything but answers. They began to forget me. Lunch invitations cancelled when I arrived. A barbecue I learned about from a neighbor. "It was informal," she said. "We didn't want to bother you." Then, the big ask. "They're painting our apartment. Can we stay with you a month? We'll get to spend more time together." I said yes, thinking closeness would return. From day one, my home changed shape. Richard criticized everything: the TV, the internet, the showers, water pressure. "At your age, a big property is hard," he'd say. Grace reorganized my cupboards, tried to donate my clothes, so out of style, I became a guest in my own house. Conversations hushed when I walked in. "What were you talking about?" "Nothing important, Mum. House expenses." I overheard Richard on the patio. "We're already living here. She suspects nothing. Carol says the papers will be ready in 2 weeks." When I asked, he said it was his boss. They offered to help with bills, then snooped my bank statements. "Why do you need $200 cash, Mum?" Grace asked. They whispered about my stubbornness, my confusion, to anyone who'd listen. Doctors and specialists began arriving. I hadn't called for any of them. I heard one say, "Physically fine," but, I'll note, mild age-related confusion. A lie entered the record with my name on it. And then that voice note, the plan spoken out loud. $800 a month for a home. $500 in bribes and fees to move the deed. Fake reports to prove I couldn't decide for myself. Admission papers already signed at St. Francis, guardianship to follow. And casual laughter about my life insurance, if something happens to her there. It wouldn't be so bad when the message ended. I sat on the kitchen floor for a long time, phone in my hand, replaying it until the pain turned to ice. By dawn, I wasn't the Margaret they thought I was. I dressed, lifted my chin, and left before they woke up. I woke at 5 with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. I put on the same crimson suit I wore to Grace's graduation, pinned in my mother's pearl earrings, and wrote a note for the kitchen table. left early to take care of personal matters. Back this afternoon. Mom, for months they'd made plans for me without asking. Now I would act without explaining. Stop 1. The bank. Nora, the manager who's known me 15 years, greeted me. How can we help, Miss Baker? I need 6 months of transactions to update all beneficiaries and to know who accessed my accounts. She frowned at her screen. Your daughter, Grace, submitted a letter signed by you authorizing access. I asked to see it. The signature leaned wrong. This is forged. I placed my ID beside it. Cancel her access, put a security alert on my account, and help me move everything now. Nora went pale. This is serious. We'll lock it down immediately. I recommend filing a fraud report. We will, I said. After I protect my assets, we moved my $8,750 savings into a brand new account with fresh passwords and switched my life insurance beneficiary to a foundation for abandoned seniors. Not one more cent would land in Grace's hands. Stop 2. The county clerk's office. Carol looked up and blanched. Aunt Margaret. I didn't know you were coming. I smiled. I'm here about my property. Grace said you were helping with paperwork. Which documents need my name? Her fingers shook. I kept my voice sweet and my recorder running. Then I showed her the voice note. She caved. Tears, confessions, processes. They had forged my signature on several documents, created fake medical reports, and were on track to have me declared incompetent so they could transfer the deed. You will help me undo every piece of this, I said evenly, and then you will find another job. Do that, and I won't press charges. For the next 2 hours, we voided their filings. She printed copies of everything for my evidence folder. Stop 3. Attorney Harrison Ford. Not that one, but just as steady. I set the folder on his desk. I need protection and justice. He combed through. Miss Baker, this is textbook family, fraud, forgery, conspiracy, attempted We'll file a civil suit and a criminal complaint against Grace, Richard, and Carol. We'll also document your capacity with an independent evaluation. For 66 years I've been generous and quiet, I said. Now I'm done. By evening, I felt different, the same bones, but a new spine. Grace and Richard were watching TV when I came home. How were your errands, Mum? She asked, wearing the smile I now recognized as a mask. Productive, I said, easing into my favorite chair. We'll have visitors in the morning. Be here to receive them. Who? Richard asked. You'll see. They'll help us clarify a few things about our family's future. For the first time in months, I slept soundly. At exactly 10 a.m., the doorbell rang. I got there first. On my porch, Attorney Ford, 2 police officers, and a notary. Good morning, Miss Baker, the attorney nodded. We're here to execute what we discussed. Grace stood. Mum, what is this? Who are they? Sit, I said, in a voice they'd never heard from me. It's time to learn the truth. The living room fell into a silence that hummed. For months they'd believed I was a helpless old woman they could steer like a shopping cart. They were about to learn I had a steering wheel of my own. Please begin, I told the attorney. He opened a thick folder and placed the first papers on the coffee table. Miss Grace, Mr. Richard, we have irrefutable evidence of forgery, fraud, and conspiracy to illegally appropriate Ms. Margaret's property. He showed the bank authorization with the crooked signature and set my ID beside it. The differences leaped off the page. I don't know what you're talking about, Grace stammered, voice trembling. Mum asked me to help. She was forgetting to pay bills. Stop, I said, gentler than my anger. There's no exit here. I tapped play on my phone. Her own voice filled the room. I can't have my mother here anymore. She's a nuisance. I found an $800 place. Carol can transfer the house to our names. It'll be about $500 in bribes and fees. Turn that off." Grace lunged, but an officer raised a hand and she froze. "We're not finished," I said quietly. "Sit and listen to everything you planned for your mother." Attorney Ford lifted another document. "This is Carol Rodriguez's written confessions, sin detailing the forged documents, the fabricated medical reports, and the planned guardianship." "That's a lie," Grace cried. I pressed another button. Carol's voice, recorded in tears. "Grace told me your mother couldn't take care of herself. She showed me how to forge the signature. She promised me $2,000 when she had the house." Richard's bravado vanished. He sank into the sofa, head in hands. "This got out of control." "No," I said, steady. "It finally met consequences." The attorney set down fake evaluations that labeled me senile. Then he placed yesterday's assessment from Dr. Raymond Morales at the General Hospital. "Ms. Margaret is in normal cognition with reasoning above average for her age." Grace began to cry, not from remorse, but from a plan collapsing. "We just wanted to take care of you by stealing my house, lying about my mind, locking me away." I rose and looked her in the eyes. "In the message you said, if I died in the home, it wouldn't be so bad because the insurance is in your name." I played that line. Then came a silence that tasted metallic. Even the officers stared at the floor. "And there's more," the attorney said calmly. He produced bank statements showing 6 months of unauthorized withdrawals, $500 to $1,500, totaling $8,750. Additionally, you paid a $1,200 admission fee to St. Francis without Ms. Margaret's knowledge and planned to deliver her under the pretense of a routine appointment. "It was for your good," Grace insisted. "You were getting confused enough," I said, voice breaking and mending in the same breath. "I manage my bills. I cook my meals. I helped you financially when you asked. What hurts most isn't the theft or the papers, it's that while I prayed for you at night, you were calculating the day you could get rid of me." The officer turned to me. "Ms. Baker, would you like to proceed with arrests?" I looked at my daughter sobbing, pleading, and felt a mother's ache. Then I remembered her laughter over my funeral in life. "Yes," I said, "proceed." Watching them cuff Grace in my living room was a pain I wouldn't wish on anyone. But it was also the first moment in months I felt whole. Richard hissed as he passed me, "This isn't over, you crazy old woman. You'll pay." Not fear confirmation. I had done the right thing. The house went quiet after they left. Real quiet. For the first time since they'd moved in. I walked through my rooms without feeling inspected. It didn't last. The next day, the retaliation campaign began. A fake profile posted in local groups. "My mother has senile dementia and falsely accused us. She's confused and unsafe to be alone." Edited photos made me look vacant. Strangers commented, clucked, judged. The phone rang at 3 a.m. "You're a miserable old woman. I hope you die alone." Social workers arrived unannounced. Pushy salespeople circled like vultures. Distant relatives knocked to check on my mental state. "It's a tactic," Attorney Ford said. "They're trying to create a record that you're impaired so your testimony looks unreliable." Worst were the letters. "You're a failed mother. Your daughter would rather see you dead. You spent your life as a servant for nothing." Some nights, I believed them. One night, I slid to the same patch of kitchen floor where I'd heard the voice note and cried like a child. I almost called the attorney to drop it all. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe they loved me in a clumsy way. Then I opened the small chest where I kept my treasures and found a letter from my mother, written when Grace was 8. "My dearest Margaret, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm proud of the mother you are. If anyone tries to hurt you or use your goodness, don't allow it, not even your own daughter. True love doesn't steal, doesn't humiliate, doesn't destroy. You deserve respect and peace in your final years. If someone can't give you that, they don't deserve a place in your life no matter the blood you share. I slept deeply that night for the first time in weeks. In the morning, I called Attorney Ford. Proceed with everything. Don't drop a thing. He sighed with relief. Good, because they're asking for a settlement, return the money, pay damages, and agree to no contact if you drop criminal charges. I thought, money back would be nice. Peace, better. But I wanted something more important than either. I'll accept, I said, on one condition: a full written confession, publicly posted everywhere they defamed me, stating that I am mentally competent and they fabricated everything. That will clear your name completely, he said. Smart. A week later, they signed. I recovered $8,750 plus $15,000 in damages. The confession was brutal for the man, liberating for me. We, Grace Baker and Richard Williams, falsely accused Ms. Margaret of mental problems, planned to steal her property, and created fraudulent documents to declare her incompetent. Ms. Margaret is in perfect mental condition. Exactly 1 month after the voice note, I had my name back and my dignity. I rewrote my will, everything to the Golden Hope Foundation for Abandoned Seniors. If Grace contested, she'd receive nothing. I sold the house that had been turned into a trap and bought a bright apartment in a community for active seniors for $85,000. With the sale proceeds and compensation, I had enough to live simply and well. Then we discovered the thing that finished the circle: tax fraud. Unreported side jobs for Richard. Undeclared online sales for Grace. The IRS opened a full audit, $22,000 in back taxes. Penalties pushing it to $35,000. They sold the car, pawned jewelry, took high-interest loans. Our case exposed a small web. At the clerk's office, 6 public employees dismissed, 12 seniors rescued from fraudulent transfers. The local paper ran the story with photographs neither of them could outrun. Grace's firm demoted her. Promotions evaporated. Richard's boss told him, "If you'll steal from family, why would we trust you here?" Friends drifted. Family confronted. People whispered in grocery aisles. I didn't gloat. I just breathed. If this story moved you, tell me where you're listening from in the comments. If you believe dignity matters more than blood, tap the and subscribe for more true-to-life stories of resilience. Your super thanks helps me keep bringing these to you. With love and respect, see you in the next life story.